Well, just to really bring us back to what was, of course, the lead of the day as this day was getting underway, was the release of the hostages, the living hostages who had still been in Hamas's captivity. All of them are now free, and we are now having the process where the deceased hostages are being brought back to Israel. We know that Israeli families of surviving hostages have been, of course, preparing to welcome home their loved ones, this after more than 2 years in Hamas's captivity. Why don't we hear from some of them now? And among them is the mother of the hostage, Nimrod Cohen, who our correspondent Emily was telling us a little bit about earlier.
I'm on my way to Reim to meet my son Nimrod after more than 2 years. I'm so excited. I'm full of happiness, and it's hard to imagine how I feel this moment. I didn't sleep all night.
I'm worried about the bodies of the hostages that we need to get back as well. And, you know, we've been through so many bad things. Carmel, my cousin, was murdered in captivity. She was actually hours away from getting released. The ceasefire collapsed on the very morning of the day in which she was supposed to come back. She was hours away.
We are anticipating everything to go smooth, and we are still worried and concerned to see that everything is going well. But we are thrilled to receive Alon and looking forward to have him with us.
All right, those the voices of the loved ones, family members of the hostages who are now making their way, at least the first group of hostages, as we understand it, are now making their way to a hospital facility, leaving the Reim air base. I want to bring back our correspondent, Emily Gordine, who is with us from Jerusalem. Emily, so just to the point that we were hearing from the relatives of the hostages, give us a sense of now where we are at with the process. We know that they were split into two groups, so to say. We had the first 7 hostages, and then there is the remaining 13. Where is the process now? Where is everybody? And what can we expect in the coming minutes?
Well, we understand that all of the hostages are now certainly in Israeli custody. Some of them are already at Reim military base, which is a military base just on the border with Gaza on the Israeli side. The other 13 have also, we understand, made it there now too, and they're being reunited with their family. The first footage has started to come out of these remaining living Israeli hostages hugging their family members. Of course, for the families, this is the day that they have been waiting for. This is the day that they've been campaigning for incessantly for the last 2 years. Israelis, or many Israelis I've been speaking to over the last 2 years, have been frankly incredible at organising this protest movement, at organising their voices on a sort of these protests, and then the fact that these voices are being heard so loudly across the world. Take Hostage Square, for example, as well. This is a square that was set up by civilians, by the families of these hostages. This was not something that was set up by the government, for example, and that also indicates or shows you a little bit just the kind of the division between the government, the Israeli government itself, and the families of the hostages. Many of them will tell you that they feel like they have been left behind by this government. This deal took 2 years to get over the finish line. And of course, among those family members who are still waiting to see the return of the deceased hostages, will also tell you that if a deal had been struck earlier, then maybe their family members would have been able to come back alive. And so the question already there is starting as well about a national inquiry into what went wrong on October 7th. Many Israelis want accountability, most notably from the Prime Minister himself. They want to understand, and they want someone, and him as the head of the state, to take responsibility for the catastrophe that was October 7th and for the trauma that it has caused this country, and that it only now will be it will be able to start healing from this, because obviously Israelis have been campaigning, they've been waiting, they've been hoping, protesting for the return of these Israelis. There has been no let-up. Now that these hostages are coming back, Israelis will have time to process what happened on October 7th. Israel is a small country. People, almost every person knows someone who was affected by October 7th. And the trauma sits very deeply among Israelis, and it will take a long time for society to heal from this.
And I think to get a little bit more insight on this, it'll be great to hear the insights now of Dr. Einat Yehene, who is Israel's leading rehabilitation psychologist for freed hostages. She has supported numerous families over the past year. Welcome to you, Dr. Yehene. I mean, I have to start by just acknowledging the significance of this moment. This must be a day full of joy for you and your team.
It is a joyful moment, and a very historical one after 2 years since the massacre of October 7. This moment belongs really to the hostages who survived inhuman conditions for 2 years in captivity, for the families who underwent extreme uncertainty and ambiguous loss and traumatic stress, exposed throughout the 2 years for all kinds of triggers, psychological terror, videos, information coming from released hostages, really oscillating between hope, fear, and despair. And also for the general public of Israel who came every day and every weekend, especially for the rallies at the Hostages Square, like really practicing solidarity and hope with their own 2 feet and not leaving anyone alone. This moment also belongs to the other families of 43 hostages who did not survive captivity, unfortunately, and were murdered. And we also need to remember in this joyful moment the pain of the families of the deceased hostages who are really anticipating to have the very last one brought back to burial. Yeah. They also need this closure and the really clarity and the conclusion of this very unprecedented ordeal in the Israeli society.
Dr. Yehene, if you could just talk us through what the first hours mean for hostages and their families when that freedom really comes. It's a private moment. We don't get to see it in front of the camera, but what do you advise families for that moment where they meet their loved one after this traumatic ordeal?
I have to say that, after 2 years that they the family's life are on standstill. They fight. They were wearing T-shirts with the pictures and all the accessories and advocating. And really, it's like a tunnel vision effect. All they did was really advocating for the loved one released. And this moment is so unbelievable, just as the kidnapping moment is unbelievable. Unfortunately, there is no real script or manual to give families, and every experience is a different one. Families were fearing, different appearances, and every time we try to advise and come up with a protocol, I think that what happens naturally, and we can see the pictures from now, that they can really identify their loved one. They know them better before the October 7 kidnapping, and something about the natural attachment of human being is stronger, apparently, for the trauma for the time being. Obviously, they need to gain autonomy, sense of safety, and really have been protected, but also gradual exposure to everything that has changed here. I would say that primarily not only family relations and identities were shifted and rolled, but also all the hostages became public figures, and the public is part of the advocacy and of this moment. But but they will need to gradually learn how to really reintegrate in life. What we are happy about, and this is something we learned from the sequential release, is that hopefully once we get the last hostage back here to burial, those who are released now will no longer have to advocate and fight for the return of their loved one and of people they left in captivity, sometimes brothers, biological brothers and sisters, and sometimes psychological brothers and sisters for the shared trauma. And they will really have the opportunity finally to be able to immerse themselves in the rehabilitation process instead of really feeling responsible, and I would even say survival guilt for being lucky enough to be released, but leaving behind others. Hopefully this will conclude this very long journey ordeal of uncertainty, of traumatic stress, and I have to say of the collective trauma, because this appeared to be one of the major things that contributed to the Israeli mental health, the trauma of the kidnapping.
Yeah.
And this
and
moment
as you're
also
speaking
belongs
about
to
that
the
trauma,
families in Poland.
Yeah, as you're talking about the trauma, I wondered about those first steps in the reunification between the people who were held in captivity, the hostages, and their loved ones. From your experience, what are those first moments like? Because that is presumably what would be happening today as the hostages are reunited with their families. What are those first seconds, minutes like as people are brought back together? What are they like physically, emotionally, particularly on the part of the hostages?
Yeah, I would say that this moment is really an overwhelming one after being disconnected for 2 years in captivity. I think that some of them really lost hope that this moment will actually happen ever. Many of them were not exposed to what is happening in Israel, the rallies and the media, sporadic maybe exposure, but some of them we didn't really get any signs of life or visual ones throughout the 2 years. So I think that they are probably overwhelmed, happy for being released, but also confused and disoriented, and except for hugging them with their permission and providing them with autonomy, even about whether or not they want to eat something, grab a snack, stand here. The family really needs to moderate and really mediate these very few hours about what happened here, what is going to happen in the next few days, and also about the protocol and the procedures that they will have to undergo in the hospitals and also through the IDF questioning.
And just in the procedures that you refer to, this is rehabilitation. That is really where your expertise lies. Are you confident that the processes that people go through in this regard will bring that full healing? And perhaps we can maybe extend that to Israeli society as well. Earlier you were referencing the impact that this has had, the collective sort of national trauma on the nation.
That's a very good question. When we say about, when we talk about complete healing or full healing, we don't mean that this is like a linear stage and the trauma and everything that happened is going to accompany them for the rest of their life. This is a life-changing event, which also left marks on their body and put them in proneness to future chronic diseases, and science talks about it, and also all kinds of psychopathology aspects. Having said that, when we talk about full recovery, it's really to provide them with the full opportunity, multi-systemic rehabilitation, long-term, which really includes not only the physical aspects, but also the psychological aspects, the cognitive aspects, the social and the familial aspects, etc. And this is something that actually, we showed in our research that this trauma is a 4-layer trauma. It affects the hostages, the families, the communities, and the society as a whole. And Israel, as a nation, would have to come up with a long-term rehabilitation program, not only for the hostages and their families in terms of social recognition, taking ownership about what happened, and really providing the benefits, using new definitions and changing the books of benefits for victims, but also in terms of how we treat and educate the public and really give recognition to the ups and downs and the emotional, violent turbulences that the society underwent with the hostages' families. We all know them. We live them, we breathe them. We were pleading for this moment. And I think that President Trump in his speeches also mentioned 3 key points. Number 1, how much it is essential to release all of them at once. No more sequential releases, which were really, really problematic and adverse, had an adverse impact for the released hostages, but also for the society. But also, he mentioned the importance and necessity to bring back the deceased hostages and how much family members and society really need them back also, just as they were alive, to give life to the families of those who were murdered. And number 3, he saw the public, and the public was really, as I said before, rallying every Saturday, 100,000 of people coming to the Hostages Square, fighting for our solidarity and our values and ethics, which really prefer humanity over hatred and preserving life. This is our hope also for the future. And we have a long journey of healing as a nation.
Well, Dr. Einat Yehene, thank you very much for those insights.
Thank you.
Dr. Yehene is a rehabilitation psychologist. She's supported numerous families over the past year. Thank you very much for your time here on DW, Dr. Yehene.
Welcome.